It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a weekly podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we find out Marvel is skipping Hall H at Comic-Con. Mike? Ooh.
It's one of those, I've gotten used to them not going or being sporadic.
Well, it's interesting enough to kind of take the wind out of my sails for the summer, but we'll talk about other things they're doing. The DCU's dynamic duo concept art makes its way online, which was pretty neat. Netflix's TUDUM event was yesterday. I don't know if you know, last night I was actually 10 o'clock Eastern. I'm over here adding things to the things, going through all their releases to make sure we got it in the show notes. So we got some show updates from that and more.
And it is the unofficial start kind of the summer.
It is.
We had Memorial Day last weekend. I was busy with family in town, so thanks for finding me a substitute, Chris. Yes. I appreciate that.
Thanks to Brian for being on.
Yes. Thanks to the start of the summer, I feel like you and I are both embracing extracurricular activities.
That's true.
Even though as adults we no longer get summer vacation, I feel like you can't get that kind of spark out of you, and we're just running around just doing things that are keeping us from probably our real chores.
I'm gonna go ahead and add an asterisk that my wife's a teacher, so she is on official smmmer break starting Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I do live with an actual summer school style schedule in my household. So yeah, it is. It's nice. A little bit of sun, a little bit of vitamin D here in the Midwest helps a little bit, right? I know you guys have a little more sun out where you are, but we don't get that. We go through the rain in the springs, but I'm feeling just energized to do stuff. I don't like sitting still right now in the summer, and I feel like you're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, right now I am recording. All my recording setup is usually on a foldable table. Which I know very glamorous normally, but now everything is crammed onto this this gigantic rolling piece of luggage that I pulled out of my closet. So the microphone's in front, everything is delicately balanced. I do have this nice little open square where I can put my can of Mountain Dew if I need to, because the normal table I use is down in the garage where I am attempting to make silicone molds so I can mold concrete, which is just something I never thought I would get into in my late 30s, but here we are. And then at the same time, I'm sending you pictures. You're sending me pictures back of just I got a whole nother 3D printer down in my basement. All your action happens in the basement. All my action happens in the garage.
That's true. Well, it's funny because Mike's project was literally the very first thing I printed on my first 3D printer was a oversized Super Nintendo cartridge that was going to Mike immediately after I got them all done. So he has got the first piece. It even came out orange because that was the only filament that came in the box was orange filament. So it's really funny to see what kicked off my 3D printing you're now playing with, and now I got another little mini 3D printer, I guess if you will, for printing smaller things to play with this summer. And it's really it's fun. It's great. These are definitely it's fun to have tangible things that you like to show off when you're done. We do digital things all the time. This podcast, I can't hold the podcast, Mike. I want to show it off, but I can't. Everything we 3D print, everything your concrete molding is actually things we can show off when we're done, which is really fun with that. Put them up on the fridge. I got one of the cool things I got, and I don't know if I told you this, about marble filament that looks like marble. It's kind of gray and has darker specks in it as you print it to give it a marble effect. Cool. So I'm I wonder what I can do with that this summer. With that, but you've got me. Your project has me interested in stickers, because you're dealing with some stickers that are shiny, kind of hollow foil stickers, a little bit. Is that? And I'm like, man, hollow foil was part of our childhood, right? That and the clear crazy. If it was hollow foil or a clear plastic, I wanted to own it when I was 8 or 9 years old. So
it's crazy. There's a couple creators I follow online that they just kind of do a little bit of everything, and sometimes they'll buy like packs of Pokemon cards to see if they can pull anything good from a pack. And I'm so far detached and removed from all of these generations of Pokemon that they'll open up like these new like booster packs that just came out, and first of all, like I can't even get my head around that the design of just like the card template has changed.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer like two like rectangles stacked on top of each other. Like now there's like all these angles and like swoops and like little like bevels around the card, and then like they have like these all over prints for some of the more legendary cards.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm so lost. And then they'll get they pull the cards until they get to the last one, and then they'll go and then they won't even react like it's good or anything. And I'm like, I don't even know what that Pokemon is. Yeah. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Well, it's fun stuff. It's fun to have that stuff, and I'm glad, people are having a good time with Pokemon cards. But well, let's jump into some news. How about that? Let's just get into this because I sent you a photo yesterday, and I did it without any context. I was like, I'm gonna send Mike this photo and see if he knows what it's referencing. And did you know who it was when I sent you the photo yesterday?
Well, I didn't use his full given name. I was like, I think that's Chopper.
Yes.
And then once I got around to listening to the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, his full Christian name is Tony Tony Chopper, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, so nice they named him twice, Mike, is what I tell people. But Netflix's TUDUM event, they came out. One of the things relevant to the show is One Piece, right? We absolutely never were exposed to One Piece before the live action version. Fell in love with it when it came out. What 2023, right? Late 2023. And season 2, they had a little trailer revealing that Chopper, or Tony Tony Chopper, who is a reindeer anthropomorphic character who was introduced pretty early on, has a human voice, kind of. I don't know. I think he's the doctor. Released a little teaser showing that he will be full CGI in the upcoming show. So they're not putting someone in like what's that other show with the kid has the deer antlers?
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. So they're not doing a person with antlers. They're actually fully CGIing this character, and they showed him off, and he had like a little a shy intro video I've linked here in the show notes if you want to check it out. Explain who he is and that he is a doctor and kind of timid, and I've almost forgotten One Piece, Mike, because it's been so long since we've seen it that I'm very excited season 2's come along, and this really kind of got me hyped back in the energy for the show to come back for us.
Yeah, this is the big danger, right, of the binge model. You go so long, especially when it's these like high budget seasons that take a long time to make. I also totally forgot about One Piece, but luckily it kind of left a good taste in my mouth. It's so weird and specific and wacky and unapologetic. I think we said all of these words when we reviewed it. So yeah. I'm happy to see it come back. And now that it's been proven, right, yeah. And Netflix was like, oh, this went really, really well. Here's more money to make sure, like, Tony Tony Chopper looks good. Make sure, like, if you want to go a little bit above and beyond on the set and in the locations, here you go.
Yeah, and I think that's the other part of it, too. Like, the first version was kind of unsure, right? They're like, we don't know if this is going to work. So they did it without any plans for future seasons, even though there's, like, over 1,000 episodes of the anime, tons of manga to adapt, but they didn't know, so they were like, well, we're going to see how it reacts and then pick it up. So that's why it's taking so long between 2023 to 2026. Is it they just didn't have a season 2 planned in the holster? But I guarantee you, Mike, I bet season 3 and probably 4 are like, they're like on that yellow light, like they're on the cusp of being greenlit. As soon as they wrap filming on season 2, they're probably gonna be like, yeah, go ahead and do 3 and 4. Well, let's get the cost down now, get them locked in, do the release kind of yearly if we can get it, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's gonna go into my next topic. something we've had an entire 2 seasons of Andor in between the releases, and that's Stranger Things. Between the last season and this season, I think they said they released both seasons of Andor, and that's just blowing my mind thinking of how long it has been since we saw season 4 of Stranger Things, right? And
yeah, and this was a great example also of something that like we binged, and it's been so long since we've seen it. I don't even think I could guess when like the last episode of the last season aired. If you gave me 3 chances, I don't even think I could get it in the right month of the right year.
Could you okay, guess a year. 21, 22, or 23?
I mean, it feels like it was I want to say 20. I want to say like winter 22.
July 22. So yeah, because they did that. They did like that. It was like one of the first shows they did that Volume 1, Volume 2 with. So Volume 1 was like May of 22, and then the last 2 episodes were July 1st of 22. So it has literally been. We will be coming up on 3.5 years in between this. Before it comes out here. And to think this show came out in 2016. We are almost, I mean, they've been filming this this whole show, not just this season, for 10 years with these kids, and they're supposed to be in high school. And I'm like, boy, you like we have a trailer here. They showed the final season teaser, and it kind of goes through the journey of the Stranger Things kids, and seeing them as young as they were when they started this show is just blows my mind. I'm like, I can't believe it has been 9 years, and these kids look so young, and now they're obviously young adults here. Kind of getting excited for some of this footage here. This is the final season. I think the last clip of this trailer show is Will Byers yelling "Run!" So like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people don't make it out of this show alive, Mike. Right? Like they've shown they'll kill people. Eddie Munson, fan favorite, coming on to be the Human Torch in Fantastic Four. They killed him off. I would not be surprised if some people in this show do not make this season, the show total, out alive at the end of it. But they're doing an interesting release model. Volume 1 is over Thanksgiving. Volume 2 is Christmas, and the finale is on New Year's coming up.
I hate it. I hate this release.
Should it just be weekly? Should it just be weekly at this point?
The thing is, humans are creatures of habit. We want predictability.
Yeah.
I understand what they're doing. They're looking at like their analytics. They're looking at their numbers, and they go, we have so much viewership over Thanksgiving, so much viewership over the holidays. Let's just release it during then when everybody's on Netflix, and we'll have like this huge multiplying effect. But like every year we travel over the holidays, and I miss all of this stuff. By the time we get back, I'm just like, I'm wiped, and like I'm gonna have to binge all of the stuff that I didn't get around to see. But like, and then there's the worry of somebody coming over during the holidays, and they just binged it the night before, and they start talking. You can't get this relative to shut up. I hate this. I hate it so much. Just make it predictable, make it weekly, and then when I'm traveling, at worst, I miss maybe 1 to 2 episodes. Chris, I don't like it, and I like Stranger Things. So I'm not no ill will towards the show or the creators. I hate this release. It's so stupid.
It is. This is the stupidest way to get back to weekly releases from the binge model. Like, oh, we know it's 8 episodes, and this is like 8 weeks total here, or like even do 2 a week if you have to, right? Like if I could see them doing 2 a week for this, but like it is annoying to look at this and be like, okay, I've got to watch this, then wait till Christmas, and then wait another week for the other one. Just make it like you said, consistent. I wouldn't say predictable, but consistent, so you know when to tune in, when you're gonna watch, when you can tell people to shut up, kind of along the way. So I agree. And despite the show releasing 3.5 years after the last season, it will only have been 18 months since the season when it comes out. They revealed as well,
which is kind of interesting because they left on that big cliffhanger of the town kind of being taken over. So,
or split. It had the earthquake and kind of split open. Yeah.
Yeah. My guess would be, since the finale is listed as New Year's, which is insane. People go out and they're doing stuff. Why are you putting a finale on a day when people have plans already? Oh, it drives me crazy. But the finale, I'm guessing the last episode, I assume, is probably going to be pretty long. probably going to be like 90 minutes to 2 hours. We're probably looking at like movie length for the final episode. So I'm hyped for Stranger Things 5. I've always liked it. I feel like it's like it's been a victim of its own success almost over the years, where it's kind of been parodied. People have really leaned into the aesthetic, and especially I would say like the soundtrack with making their own projects. There's been lots of like copycats, but like Stranger Things, in my mind, if you just look at it for what it is, don't look at the media landscape around it, don't look at anything else. If you just look at it as a piece of entertainment that the Duffer Brothers have made, I think it's really, really successful. Maybe one of the greatest TV shows, like at least top 20 in there in discussion for sure. They've done a great job. I can't wait to see them land the ship.
Wait till it ends before you give them the credit, right? That feel like I don't want to get into like Game of Thrones territory where it's like, hey, it's a great show until the end. I don't think it'll go that way. I think honestly, if they wanted to go that way, they would have released this like a year ago, right? Like if they wanted to hurry up and get it out of the way. I don't feel like that. I feel like it's taking time, but like I'm gonna wonder, people who have grown up with this show, who were like the age of the kids when it came out and are now getting to see it, like,
that is true.
That would be interesting, their kind of take on it. I would also give myself 5 years, come back and try to watch the whole show in a row and see how the production gaps affect, just watching them together, right, without that kind of in mind.
That's a whole nother thing. I have homework to do before I watch this, because I really like this show and I want to get back in the mindset before I rewatch it. So I'm probably going to rewatch the last season in some way. So like there's all this time I need to build in to commit myself to this show, and then they're putting the final, like the final test, the final exam, like at the end of the year. It's like, oh, come on, this is ridiculous.
But we will have Stranger Things before the end of the year. So that's going to be great. I really, the thing I'm going to say, they may or may not do it. This show has the potentiality for a sequel series, right? Like you skip some years, recast up the kids or whatever. I think it has a lot of opportunity for that. What I would love to see though is like the show kind of end and like have like maybe a flash forward, like cast that up. Maybe,
like where are they now?
Yeah, like how did this affect them kind of in the end kind of deal. But like I kind of equate this to the It movie, like this is the kid version of the It movie, and like they'll do a Stranger Things sequel later where it's like the adult version of it kind of deal. But
well, I mean, they're doing that Welcome to Derry show,
the prequel,
so that's getting franchised out. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity here, but you guys will have some news for that later this year. There's some other stuff kind of coming out there. Dexter. Well, no, Dexter's not on. That's Paramount. They had a trailer for Dexter. There's some other stuff, but nothing huge out of Netflix other than these two things that are adjacent to the show. If anything else comes out, we'll talk about it next week. Moving into comic book news, we're going to talk about some DC stuff real fast. Superman, the rumor is that this movie originally played out over every day of the week in an episodic structure. So you were like, Monday, this is Superman's Monday, this is his Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that was the movie, and like the entire movie was just 1 week of what we're kind of seeing in the trailer, which kind of feels like maybe how it was based on the trailers. I don't know if there's any truth behind this. I've seen it reported several times, but like they say that they've also probably they're not going to release the movie in that final version of a structure. But like the trailers feel like that.
I could totally see how Gunn would do that, because for as much as sometimes we love him and hate him, one thing that we both agree that he can do is he can churn out pages like it's almost nothing. Like you throw a writing task at him and he will have it done on time for sure. So I am not surprised that he went and sat down to write a Superman movie, and he's just like, oh, I just can't stop. I've written like 500 pages. Like, oh, this could be a series. Like, no, we gotta put this into a movie form, James.
Yeah.
That's what Peter Safran probably. I'm playing the role of Peter Safran right now, but I absolutely could see the runaway train of James Gunn finally getting to make a Superman movie, just going off the deep end.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of movies that have set up like a daily structure, right? Like of like when you watch it, like, hey, this is day 1 through day 7. Like I can't think of any off the top of my head. I know I've seen one or two, but like, is that enough time for a Superman intro movie to learn the character and kind of, you know, deal with him across 7 days? Or do you want to kind of go with him on a journey over, like, you know, maybe a month or something as you kind of get to know him? I don't know. I'm curious. You know, because this is his first outing. This is a new universe. We gotta introduce all the moving pieces that James Gunn is setting, because he set up so many characters in this, right? Like the Justice Gang, Lex Luthor, the Authority members that he has, all this other stuff. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. But it is coming out next month. We are officially in June. This will be out next July, so 5-6 weeks. I'm gonna guess final trailer this week or next week, with tickets on sale probably the next 2 weeks for this.
Well, I put it in my phone. I think last time we recorded, you guessed maybe the 12th is when tickets might go on sale. So I put it in my phone so I wouldn't forget. Yeah. So we'll see if that holds true.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing if that's this week or next week. I also saw some other article, and I can't verify the truth of this, but like that James Gunn is turning in the final version of the script by Friday. That makes sense timeline wise, but I don't know if there's any truth to that statement or not. So we'll see how that goes. But I expect the promotion, the hype wheel for Superman to kick off in the next week or two. Speaking of James Gunn and things that he just wants to churn out, Peacemaker. James Gunn confirms that the only Peacemaker is coming to San Diego Comic-Con this year for Warner Brothers. They're not bringing Supergirl. They may have some Superman stuff left over, but they're not taking anything else there. I don't know. I thought they would bring Supergirl, at least, Mike, because they've been filming it, right? Like show a teaser off or something. But do you think he's maybe lying to us to not get our hopes up?
I mean, it could be a possibility. I just finished watching The Studio the other week, which I highly recommend. Seth Rogen's show on Apple Plus, and the last 2 episodes. It really funny. It helps to listen to Superhero Slate podcast. The last 2 episodes are about their studio presenting at CinemaCon, and I was like, "Hey, I know what CinemaCon is. We talk about that on the show once a year." And it was all about their presentation up there on stage, and you know, trying to figure out what they are going to show, what they aren't, you know, who behind the stage is like hungover because it's in Vegas and can or can't present. So maybe that's how it's like at Comic-Con. They're like, oh, we'd like to show Supergirl, but everyone involved in the show is like out in the Gaslamp district across the street getting wasted at the Hard Rock Hotel, so they can't present. Yeah. But at the very least, I wonder if like there would be like you know, like logo reveals. I feel like logos are always easy thing to throw up on screen. You don't have to fly anyone into town, you know.
Well, I would also think like a concept art of like Jason Momoa's Lobo or something like that, like, because you know that always takes over all the news articles when he's there.
Jason Momoa loves going to Comic-Con. He's there like every year. I'm sure he'd love to go back.
He's already got a plan to be there. He just hasn't told James Gunn yet. But also they may be like, you know, again, still making those plans. It could be travel, filming schedules, stuff like that. But you know, I was really hoping more than Peacemaker. But you know, we'll see we'll see what comes to life in about 2 months when it drops. Or they could bring in something from Dynamic Duo, the upcoming half CG, half puppet, half animated movie. I guess it's hard to describe this because we've only talked about it. We shared some of the demos from the studio before, but we got some concept art revealing their takes on both Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, both who were Robins for Batman at one point in time. And it looks like maybe there might be a crossover here between them. Like both being Robin and Red Robin at the same time based on their outfits. The first one shows obviously the Dick Grayson we know in his regular Robin outfit, and then Jason Todd with like a mohawk and a slingshot and like maybe a stitched together cape. Maybe he wants to be Robin and can't be Robin, I guess. Maybe he's like a little punk outfit on that. And then if you jump forward, we get to see the city of Gotham concept art with Wayne Enterprise Tower, but if you look closely, you get to see the Red Hood and Nightwing, who these people become later after the Robin tenures, right? For those who don't remember,
I didn't even see that.
For those who may not know, Jason Todd was back in I think the 80s. You could write into DC and pick if Jason Todd lived or died from the Joker. Remember? And people were like, yeah, you kill him. And then he, obviously Batman's broken up. He didn't have another Robin for a little bit. And then they brought Jason Todd back as the Red Hood many, many years later, which is really cool. And then the last concept art image, we get to see a very stylized Batman coming into the room of, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, both on their beds, one with his bow staff and the other with a slingshot, kind of ready to fight here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, like, technically, theoretically here, this is supposed to be our new universe's Batman, right? I guess we got our first official look at his silhouette in Creature Commandos when he's like briefly on the roof and there's like a lightning strike and you get to see him. This is kind of more of a direct. I would guess the marching orders moving forward with a lot of projects that kind of relate to Batman but don't show him are like, just do classic generic Batman in any way you can, so technically we can evolve it or adapt it in any way once we finally reveal him in live action. So what we see here is like total just like classic Batman.
This is also, it's very much like a remember the Once Upon a Batman, or the Merry Christmas Batman movie that came out like 2 years ago? Kind of looks like that. But also I did just look it up and I was like, you mentioned the DCU, they have not confirmed or denied this is in the DCU yet. So I think they're leaving it ambiguous just in case as well. Like, hey, it's animated, it could be different.
Yeah, it would be so weird to me if they didn't put it in there, right? There's been so much effort to kind of like reboot everything, and set it in one universe, and Gunn wants to make sure all these animated properties live in the same universe, and to do like this and not put it in there would be very odd to me, but I totally get them not saying it because this is going to take a while to make. It's already been, I don't know if it was ever officially given a release date, but I think it's kind of been delayed, right?
Let me see here. It's June 30th, 2028. It was never delayed. It's just, when we got the announcement like when they first started working on it, so like they hadn't even been working on it. So we do have this month 3 years this month to get to this. We may not even have a Batman Part 2 by that point, Mike. You don't know how. This may be our third Batman by that point.
Well, it makes me wonder how they break the story on this, right? You have to include Batman in some aspects in this story, right? And you have to start development so ahead of time. Like, we don't even have our like true live action Batman for this universe yet, but he's already kind of being written and adapted as we speak for this movie. So I wonder if they already have like a solid direction that they want to do with this Batman, which gives them a chance to get this going.
It could also just be, this is our flashback as two kids, and this is how we both thought Batman was at the time.
That's a good dynamic, because if we see kind of the Nightwing Gotham as kind of like the future and we have flashbacks, he was larger than life when we were a kid,
Yeah, he was scary, he was cold, he never really cared about us, kind of thing. And well, the thing about I'm looking at the room photo the most here, and the thing is with it is them sharing a room, kind of like adopted brothers, but also like the left hand side you get to see the punk era, like there's the Mutants poster, which was kind of like the Dark Knight Rises or Returns kind of era. Scare tactics, like one's very angry and the other one's like the Flying Graysons. He's the acrobat, he's doing all he's got the rings hanging from the ceiling as well. So I'm interested to see these two kids. I think they're going to be the better, like I said, the dynamic duo, more than Batman in this. I really want to see why they come to blows or what mission they're on, right? Who are they up against along the way? I'm excited for this because, again, Swaybox had those really, really cool the video demos they had where they were showing the puppets, the animation, stuff like that, kind of reminds me, and I hate to say it, Mike, is like the mid-range AI videos that people were generating around puppets. And I hate to say that because their stuff looks way better than that, and they have 3 years of full studio funding to polish a bunch of that stuff. But like, it was so not necessarily uncanny, but so very interesting to look at. So hopefully they can do this as well. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to put it here in the notes. June 2028. I can't even spell. I did that wrong. So, check out that concept art. That link is in our show notes. shifting over to Marvel's, as we talked about at the top of the show, Marvel Studios is foregoing the traditional Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con this year. And this makes perfect sense when we said that. You weren't here last week, Mike, but you made the cover image. Marvel delayed their two biggest movies over 6 months to the end of the year, right to the December range. So we will not have a Marvel Studios proper movie from Fantastic Four July this year to December of 2026 with Avengers Doomsday. You're going to say, Chris, what about Spider-Man? Spider-Man is technically not a Marvel movie, so they can't do it. They can't change the release date. You know, Marvel and Disney don't control that. Sony still does, even though it's a collaboration. But we are going to be having a very large drought for Marvel Studios content in theaters.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys talked about it last week, but it does make me wonder strategically how you pivot and adjust the Spider-Man movie, knowing that you won't have a Doomsday setup to kind of explain what's ever happening in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But also, I always forget, because I always like dream up these like wild scenarios in which these movies work together. And I always forget, like, oh, these movies are always conceived as like standalone movies. These movies need to work on their own, like rerun on the weekends on TBS, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're not, we like to think of everything as episodic, but they do need to stand on their own. So who knows, maybe the Spider-Man movie doesn't need a lot of retooling to do that.
And I think I agree with you. I think that's just, we know that it's also the first in a trilogy for Spider-Man, and you don't want to start a trilogy off as a sequel to an Avengers movie, right? So so my guess is that they probably kind of had like, you know, a plan, several plans in place just in case. This is the first that we as people are hearing about this delay. My guess is internally it has been going for several weeks. Like, that's not something someone woke up and was like, we should probably delay this. And they're like, yeah, I guess we could. Like, you got to move all the movies around. Like, literally Marvel canceled 2 of their movies that are now Disney movie slots. You know, we're getting the less is more. These are going to be event films, Mike, for the next years. My guess would be that Doomsday and Secret Wars are kind of just almost being filmed simultaneously in a way, or, you know, they're trying to keep things around people, sets, you know, and schedules.
And I wonder if maybe they I wonder if maybe they found out, like, oh, this will all be better for everybody if we just push this first movie back. Was Secret Wars also pushed back?
They're both December now, December 26 and December 27 now.
Yeah, well, obviously that makes me want to go. Where did Avatar go? We still have Fire and Ash this year, right?
Yeah, Avatar was not in those things. The next movie for Avatar 4 would have been, I think, 28, according to our release calendar.
Okay, so we'll get an Avatar Christmas, then 2 Avengers Christmases, and then another Avatar Christmas. That's all I care about, Chris. Yeah. Where are my Avatar movies going?
They never moved. They didn't move anything other than that. Avatar's, I was 29. I'm sorry, Avatar's 29 and 31. So we're going to be having some movies for a little bit. But, yeah, it's cool. That's fine with me. We talked about possibly, you know, they need to do better. Last week we talked about better CGI, right? Like, they don't need to rush the CGI teams to get this done. Work with the calendar for people. Yes, it is a bummer. It is delayed. But I don't... And if they're doing it this far ahead before they have to do reshoots is better than trying to do reshoots with a delay. So...
it's funny. You bring up the CG... concept of it, and this kind of puts me up on my soapbox. It steams my broccoli a little bit. I'll see these absolute trolls out there on the internet that will put up a clip from like the first Transformers movie, and they'll be like, CG used to look so good, and then they'll compare it to like a Disney Plus show, and it's like, this is apples and oranges if I've ever seen it. And also, I think a lot of people are so wowed by the Transformers visual effect because it's a relatively straightforward visual effect when it comes to like materials, right? Like, this is a car. Like, we've perfected making cars looking photorealistic, like on the PlayStation 3. Like, Forza like figured that out like a long time ago. And we're also like visually dazzled by all the mechanical moving parts, I think, when a Transformer is transforming as well. So I think all of that is just selling the effect really well. It's like, you can't compare that to us trying to make like an organic creature. Like, you can't compare that to She-Hulk. That is a Disney Plus budget, and that is supposed to be like a real breathing human character. And also, we know that time constraints are a big deal, but also I've seen a lot of like VFX professionals like reply to some of these arguments that just like, oh, you're missing out on so many of these small details that like you're not perceiving. And I guess you can't blame an audience member for not perceiving it, but it's like we're putting like real working stretching like pores on skin now. It's like insane.
Well,
so but I agree, with more time I am kind of curious if now we actually do it right and we give VFX teams the time and budget that they need, I would be pretty excited to see how that translates like to an IMAX screen nowadays.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, those Transformer shots were made to wow, right? They filmed this. They filmed that scene and animated that one scene to wow people to begin with, right? But if you watch every other subsequent Transformer movie, they cut out all the transforming pieces. They literally just cut to them being cars in the next scene, because how much work and money went into just the one transformation that they can't reuse because it was done in that one scenario. So to your point, absolutely, there's so many little things that you don't realize. It's like watching Fallout, and like when the fact they remove Walton Goggins' nose in all of those shots, and I never once think about, boy, does that not look good, because they're doing things the right way these days. So it's really
also fun. I walked out of Way of Water thinking Na'vi were like real. I was convinced that like if I saw like a Na'vi at the concession stand on my way out, I would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They're just real now and they live around us. So sorry, you put me up on a soapbox there.
That's fine.
But back to the original point though, D23 was last year, and they went D23 and then Comic-Con. They did both in a row. So that is a precedent that they've set that they can do now.
Yeah.
So next year, it sounds like they're going to have a ton of stuff to show off, because they'll be able to do a D23 and a Comic-Con in a row, and they'll probably just show off like the first look at like Doomsday. We're going to see like a ton of stuff. They might maybe give us a hint at maybe, I don't know if they would do any sort of X-Men casting that soon.
27 they would probably get, like the Comic-Con before Secret Wars, I would expect the next schedule. But I still believe there will be one movie in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. I still think they have the opportunity,
maybe like a Doctor Strange,
possibly Shang-Chi or Thor, if they wanted to do a Thor movie. I still think there's going to be one in there. They could announce. They could do the casting, for Secret Wars, concept art, stuff like. There's a lot of things they can do, but like this year they're not ready, right? They're out. They just did their thing. We'll probably be getting some New York Comic-Con stuff later this year. A couple teases, but yeah, they're still going to bring Fantastic Four experiences to the show. They're going to have comic books. They're going to have tons of stuff on the floor. So it's just Hall H they're not doing, which I think is still fine. It'll just make our show that much shorter in July.
What I'd really like them to do is after Secret Wars, I don't want them to announce anything. I want like a solid half a year where we are just in the dark and the internet is just speculating. We're going off of scraps and rumors, and then they announce some sort of like big event where and then we're all hyped, we're super excited, and then we just get this big splashy, this is the next vision for Marvel, this is what we're doing, this is the reinvigoration.
I think that they would take too much time if they waited, and the problem I have, I like your idea and concept. The theory is that people will make up too much stuff if it's too dark, and then be disappointed when it's not the stuff that they already imagined it would be at the end of the day. So, but
also realistically, everything operates on like financial quarters too, so they would never go an entire quarter without like announcing like a new Marvel movie too.
Yeah, they got the dates for 2028 in there. Yeah, the 3 2028s, which will probably change, but I expect something cosmic. X-Men and something cosmic will probably be around the corner.
Whoa, if we got like a cosmic Ghost Rider in Secret Wars, like we're just jumping straight to cosmic Ghost Rider. That'd be sick.
Last week you weren't here. Doomsday, they are looking to cast Ghost Rider in Doomsday now. And it's Ryan Gosling is the number one runner who they've talked about back and forth for a while.
Okay.
So absolutely could do that. The other thing about Marvel Studios not being at Hall H does not actually eliminate Marvel Animation from having their panel on Friday. because they are technically a separate company, and Marvel Television hasn't said anything either, as they are a separate entity, right? Under this, we are not under. It may say Marvel Studios, but like all the shows now are Marvel Television, right? At the intro, like Daredevil, stuff like that. So we could be getting Daredevil season 2, some announcements of some future shows that we don't know about yet down the road. So very, very excited for that. It is a bummer that Marvel Studios isn't there, but like I said, they've gone out like 1 year, I think, maybe without, and they're still catching up to 2019's big announcements. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and shoot ourselves in the foot again. Moving on to TV shows, Vision, the series that'll be like the third in the WandaVision series with Agatha Long. Vision has cast 3 people to play the human forms, or at least A forms, of characters from it. So Carrie Condon, who is actress in the Banshees of Inisherin, is cast as Friday in human form, the AI from Tony Stark. Tania Miller from The Fall of House of Usher as Jocasta, the Bride of Ultron. We talked about her a couple weeks ago, so they have cast her officially. And Emily Hampshire from 12 Monkeys and Schitt's Creek is cast as Edith in human form. Edith was the glasses that Peter Parker had in Far From Home. The AI.
This is going to be kind of fun. We get to take all of these like artificial voices that we've heard throughout the MCU and kind of turn them into real people. I would think maybe this is. I wonder if this is Vision's doing, like, directly, where he is kind of conjuring this with all of his abilities, or
they would be.
I'm assuming we're picking.
It's like siblings, right? Because like Tony Stark made Ultron, and Ultron made. Well, I guess Tony also made Vision, and these are all like, other than Jocasta, Friday and Edith are like siblings to, like, older siblings to Vision and Ultron, because
maybe this is kind of like a story where Vision has to kind of like teach a computer how to become like human. Like, this is how you sympathize with humanity. This is why they're worth saving. Yeah. This is why we don't just go full Ultron.
Or the other way, because technically he left as White Vision, remember, at the end of WandaVision. And honestly, like, this is going to be very much a legacy of Tony Stark / Vision here because of this. But I'm excited to see kind of what they look like, how they bring this into play here. This one, of all the shows coming out, this one has like my most interest because of everything kind of tied to it along the way.
Yeah, because we've talked about how this is basically like the end of the trilogy of the Scarlet Witch Agatha kind of show, and it's the same creator, if I recall.
Yes. What is his name? I don't know. Well, the showrunner, I think the writer is Jack Schaefer.
Either way, we're getting kind of like this quality consistency throughout it, which is great. And if I had to make a guess, I feel like I'm envisioning like a floating White Vision who's out there trying to find himself. And I'm gonna guess he's gonna be drawn to that temple in Doctor Strange 2 that like crushed the Scarlet Witch. I'm not saying he's gonna do anything over there, like remove the rubble and like try to pull out her body. I don't necessarily think that's gonna happen, but I feel like he's going to like reflect on the situation that had happened there, like as he's trying to like find back humanity. And they're also, that'd be an easy shot to do, right?
Yeah. Well, they're also bringing back James Spader, right? Who kind of had a thing for Wanda, right? And the moments there. So it'll probably be something pretty cool with that. I'm excited. I don't know much about it, and I looked up. This is actually showrunner is Terry Matalas, who did Star Trek Picard, but I think they're basing it off of everything out of WandaVision at the end of that. So, yeah, very excited to see kind of this. Hopefully they can bring a first look, because this is also the last show they talked about bringing from movie actors to the series, right? Like going forward, Marvel Television will probably not be bringing TV actors to the small screen in this capacity. So it'll be kind of an end of an era for everybody when that wraps up. Fantastic for first steps. There is I didn't tell you this. CCXP Mexico is going on this week, and they actually showed a scene from this earlier, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the rumor is that Fantastic Four universe is Earth 828, and that means nothing to anybody except the Earth we saw in Doctor Strange 2 with Professor X and Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski, was 838. So very, very similar to that. I've got a couple Empires doing their marketing things. We got our first Empire covers showing off the Fantastic Four team, including obviously Mr. Fantastic, the Thing, Invisible Woman, and the Human Torch. And then in the background you can see Silver Surfer. She's catching up to him, Mike. It's pretty cool. Again, I love the retro futuristic city, the background, all the font choices they're doing with this. Like, this is full on aesthetic filmmaking. If I could have it. I know it's not Wes Anderson style movie, but like, this is the kind of stuff I feel Wes Anderson would do if he had a superhero movie, right? To do this as much as they're going in on this. So
yeah, he's always been a fan of mid-century modern, just any sort of like particular visuals. He's always been drawn to. But you were mentioning like just the name of the universes. I feel like we've always been told as an audience like where these universes are. I feel like sometimes like the numbers have been like referred to in the movies, but not often, and nobody really worries too much about the numbers specifically.
I'm not keeping tabs on them, and I would in the comic books, but not in the movies. Could care less. They're gonna do what they want with them.
But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe if either Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards or maybe another Reed Richards in another universe is the one that maybe starts like cataloging everything, right? Yeah. I mean, I suppose maybe the TVA could have some sort of list but they're kind of keeping track of like timelines, and we've never really gotten that fully fleshed out, the difference between a multiverse and a timeline. But I could see a Reed Richards. We have a photo of him in front of like this really crazy chalkboard. But I could see him in front of any chalkboard. Maybe he starts noticing these multiverses and starts like numbering them. That would be kind of like a fun
that was
thing.
like one of the concepts with that very, very long dry erase board they had, where they didn't put a stretching in yet, which is pretty cool. Well, before we get to so the next Empire cover, the alt cover is Galactus with the Earth and Silver Surfer in like a drawn form, right? Not a rendered form. So that's pretty cool to see the scale of Galactus. But you're right. The next one we have is Fantastic Science with Mr. Fantastic. Again, like this feels like 1960s Bill Nye right here, Mike. Like this, I love this. The huge jet engine, like I said, the dry erase board or the chalkboard behind him, the computer monitor that's got that plastic blue over it on the table in front of him. It just feels good to see. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain of why this feels like somebody put thought into this. It's not just a green screen where they're adding stuff in later. It's a real set here. I also like his Fantastic Four like safety goggles he's got on back there, like the little blue ones. A little fun thing.
I wonder if his clothes are going to stretch. I just thought about this, because if this scene was portrayed either in animation or a comic book, I feel like his lab coat would stretch along with his arms. And as a reader or a viewer, you wouldn't really second guess it. Yeah. But in live action, I guess we can explain his like actual suit stretching, because we could imagine a Reed Richards inventing a suit that stretches. And I'm assuming he invents a suit that also goes invisible along with Sue, unless Sue's power maybe extends to whatever's physically touching her.
They do Johnny's suit doesn't burn, so we got that far at least.
Yeah. But I'm just imagining like Pedro's hand stretching out of this lab coat, and it would just be like the flesh coming out like a snake.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what that is. The runtime for the movie is reportedly 2 hours and 10 minutes, making it one of the longest movies since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But the CCXP-MX Mexico scene shown is them actually in this is not a spoiler, but like in a spaceship running away from the Silver Surfer. So hopefully it leaks online, because I want to watch this. But we are like a month and a little under 2 months away from this, and I am just so excited to get to this movie. July is going to be a good month for going to the theaters, I feel. Between Jurassic World, Superman, and this, thoroughly excited to dive into all these wonderful escapism movies. Like, on to Avengers Doomsday, the I guess next Marvel movie that we know about. Until Spider-Man gets to something. The rumor is that there will be a second Black Panther in Avengers Doomsday. Yet again, we've talked about this before, right? That they were going to have like variations possibly. Could be a variant, could be from a different universe. This is believed to be T'Challa's son. Could come from the X-Men universe. We don't know. Like, there's a lot of we don't knows what they're gonna do, but it really sounds like
Could it be the Black Panther coming from the video game universe?
Well, let's go. Don't jump ahead here because we got that next. But yeah, to me, them having another Black Panther is the goal. It's not to have Shuri be Black Panther forever, right? Like, it is a kind of, they want to hand the mantle on. They probably didn't originally want to handle on every movie, but it feels like Chadwick Boseman, Letitia Wright, and then whoever the next one's going to be, probably in Doomsday, set us up for the Black Panther 3 movie that we know Ryan Coogler's working on.
Yeah, we got a lot to explore still in Wakanda, so we need a reason to go back.
Yeah, and I would love to see, again, we've talked about how unstable the economy of Wakanda is, or how that the invention of adamantium affects vibranium at the end of the day, right? Because they really teased us and let us down in Captain America Brave New World with that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to explore that in Black Panther 3. However, we will not be getting the opportunity to do that in the upcoming video game, as Mike alluded to, because EA, I think it's EA canceled the Black Panther standalone game that we've talked about for several years, and the studio Cliffhanger was shut down entirely this past week. And it would have, the rumor leaks, I don't know. I think once people get fired and shut down, they're like, to hell with it, here's all the stuff. The details is that it would have followed Azari, which is T'Challa's son from the comic books, not the one for the movies that we would know. And you could pick who the Black Panther was. Also, I've got a nice little link here of concept art, showing off, like, very rough penciling concept art. There would have been the battle scene, like the ritual battle. Like, had the waterfall scene that we saw in the movie. Skrulls were gonna come in and take over. Some of the cool stuff you get to see here is, like, the old temples in Wakanda, the futuristic city of Wakanda. Was a white gorilla area. I don't know what that's called in the movie where they went to.
Like M'Baku's
area,
kingdom.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. But we got a lot of concept art here. Like, they were really trying to build up Wakanda.
This would have been so, like, the playing as Black Panther would have been so great, because I'm such a sucker for traversal, and this character has, like, ultimate traversal abilities, like just running, big jumps and leaps, climbing up walls with the claws. You could have done so much, and I love this, like, last image here where we see Black Panther, like, looking over this hologram map of all of these different zones and regions. Like, you could have just built anything, because, like, you're in this, like, super, like, lush, like, jungle landscape with all of these. I'm sure they would have like slightly different biomes.
Yeah, you can kind of see a desert here, and like the jungle and all the other stuff, like really the sections. Yep.
Like imagine like mounting on like one of those like battle rhinos for like a minute. It would have been so cool, and I'm so bummed, and I really wonder why it was shut down, because I would assume when these video game studios start developing these properties, like there's probably like a lot of thought that goes into like, oh, do we want to spend the money to license this game for Marvel and build it out? And obviously they saw a lot of promise there with the character. There was a lot of hype. I only ever heard positive things when people heard about this game coming out. And then we were also supposed to be getting another kind of version of Black Panther in the Captain America game that I believe is still
that's
coming out.
Ubisoft, I think, is making it Hail Hydra, or Rise of Hydra 1942 or something like that. That is coming out where you play as Captain America and an older not older Black Panther, but like the Black Panther of World War II. Yes, that is still coming out.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, why wouldn't they want to try to, like, I mean, you could probably capture nearly the entire audience that's playing all of the Spider-Man games out there. Like, you know, they would have loved and embraced like another game with really fun mechanics. So yeah, I'm really wondering why this tanked. Like, did they not have faith in this studio? Did they not have faith in like the timeline?
EA sucks, first and foremost. I think we can all agree on that as a company. They said that they're only focusing on their core properties, including I think it was like Apex Legends and a couple, like, Battlefield. Like, they're only going back to shooters because The problem is in video games, if there's no replayability, like how like a lot of these studios aren't focusing on single player games, despite the fact that the Star Wars games made by EA, Jedi, did really well, right? Like you remember like Jedi, what's it called? Jedi Survivor, and the other one, like Fallen Order. Those are great single player games with no like you're not paying for DLC, you're not coming back. Those sold wonders. I could imagine this game being on par with that. Like right, like having the attack abilities, upgrading, getting new equipment, pairing. They could have done so much, and it is sad that they've canceled this. Like if you even scroll down in this thread here, you can actually see someone like they were play testing this as recently as February of this year. So like I would love to see. I bet in the next couple months we're going to get some of that gameplay leaked out here. Like
yeah, this is where it's ethically okay to like leak like a game, like all that stuff we got for Wolverine like last year.
Yeah,
go ahead and do this for Black Panther, because this is something we're never going to get a chance to see.
Exactly. If it's canceled, it's not coming out. Like they can't, like at that point it's like kind of fair game, I feel. But the villains would have been the Skrulls, which I think would have been an awesome kind of thing. Like who infiltrated what? Are your people Skrulls? Are the Skrulls taking the shapes of other heroes across the planet as well? Lot of opportunities there, and it's sad it's never going to come to fruition for us. Moving on, bit of X-Men news here. The rumor is, and we're going to get so many X-Men rumors until an announcement comes out in like 2 years, is that Bryan Cranston is being eyed for Professor X in the upcoming MCU reboot. I think people only say this because they saw him bald and shave his head in Breaking Bad 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And they're like, yeah, he's a old white guy who can shave his head and look normal. I don't have any other. I think he'd be fine. I think he'd be okay. Nothing in the world like tells me that he would be like that. What if he was instead Mr. Sinister? Like I would love to see him play like an older Nathaniel Essex who's like working on genetic things to like make himself younger or give himself abilities. I think he'd play a better villain than Professor X. But
yeah, I mean, obviously Bryan Cranston, one of the greatest actors ever.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be upset if he's cast in anything Marvel wise.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we're just going to keep getting, here's Professor X, here's Magneto, over and over again until they actually announce it. So if anything comes out, we'll let you know, but I thought that was an interesting little rumor this week. The last bit of news on the rumor mill is that the Deadpool upcoming fourth film is going to be a true, or at least based on X-Force movie, rather than the scene that they did in the last, or X-Men 2, right? Or not X-Men 2, Deadpool 2. Where he's like, oh, this is the X-Force, and it was a bunch of B-listers that get kind of offed very early on when their landing doesn't go right. So this will feature the return of Josh Brolin as Cable and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but add the MCU version of Storm to this little Black Ops team here, which would be great because she's technically, I guess, the only one with a power other than shooting and stabbing in this case.
Yeah, I feel like Deadpool would be a really good movie to breach our maybe rebooted MCU universe. Like, if Deadpool was the first movie to come out after Secret Wars, I mean, that is a really good run right there. You're probably going to have, hopefully, great success and box office returns with these two Avengers movies coming up, and then what's up after that? Another Deadpool movie, like the last one that made like $1 billion. Let's do that again. And that could be like a fun, because we always got like those Ant-Man movies, right? Like in between like these gigantic like events in the MCU. Maybe like Deadpool kind of is filling that similar type of hole of like just get a wacky character up there on screen while we're cooking the more serious stuff.
And he's also again got experience in the multiverse. Like you said, right? Wolverine was pulled in he went to multiverses to find Wolverine, so he's got multiverse experience. I would love to see Josh Brolin come back as Cable. I don't think he did a bad job. I just think the way they wrote Cable, not being like the son of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor, kind of being, left out, sucked. So I think they could maybe right the ship in that regard. And then Storm, obviously, a very high-powered mutant. I would love to see her abilities in there. She's probably the biggest like kind of X factor here. I'm like, why would you bring Storm in? And like, who are they fighting in this X-Force movie? Who's the villain of this movie, and what are they doing? But I would love to see this team up here and then add a couple more. I think, R-rated because it's Deadpool. Throw some nice brutal stuff in there, put him on a mission. But having him be so zany against two straight men, Wolverine and Cable, would be funny to watch. I would just love to see them have to deal with him the entire time. Mm-hmm. But also, like, so Ryan Reynolds writes these movies himself, kind of like James Gunn writes everything DCU. Like, Ryan Reynolds could probably script this up pretty fast if he wanted to. In that regard, I don't know. The only thing that kind of would put an asterisk on this is who would they get to direct it, right? Because Sean Levy is going to Star Wars. The guy who did Deadpool 2, he was tapped for something else recently. We talked a couple weeks ago. So I would love to. I'd be interested to see who they bring.
I mean, I would be pretty surprised if he does it without Sean Levy. I could see them maybe trying. Maybe Ryan Reynolds directs it himself. To be honest, like he knows the character well enough to do that. He was a guest on Conan O'Brien's podcast recently, and it was kind of fun listening to him because he's such a bigger than life character. I've never really listened to him sit down and have just a casual conversation over an hour. And he talked about how him and Sean Levy, they're not just working like professionals. They're just they're like brothers. They're like best friends. I would be surprised if there was a scheduling conflict. I would see them just waiting until there wasn't. But I wouldn't be surprised if Reynolds wanted to direct the next one.
Yeah, I don't. Has he directed anything that you can think of?
I don't know.
I don't either.
As we both run over to IMDb.
Yeah, I'll let you take a look at that. Because I'm trying to think. I know he did the one where he was in the casket, buried. I think is what it was. I don't know if he directed that either. Oh wow!
Does he have any directing credit at all here? They have the little filters at the top of IMDb, and I don't see a single little filter button for director. So yeah, I mean actor, producer, writer for sure, but I'm not seeing anything for directing. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, video games, movies, music, and web videos. Nope, I don't either. So maybe I don't know if they give him something that'd be his first movie to direct, but maybe it could be a co directing thing, right? Have someone there with him along the way. So either way, more Deadpool doesn't hurt anybody. It's one of the bigger movies last year, and we can see how that plays off in the future state MCU. Mike, that's the show for today. If people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Yeah, they can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com and liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or video games of the same name, about said it again. If people want to know about the show, where they come back every week, see our upcoming release schedule that we keep updated. We reference several times in here. Where can they get all them goodies?
Yes, head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the home for everything we do here at Superhero Slate. You don't need to go to a comic book convention or a different country to go to their movies convention. You just got to go to superheroslate.com. That's where you can find all of our awesome show notes to get our links to where we host our podcast. But you're an adult. You know how to go to a podcast reader and type in Superhero Slate. So I'm not worried about that. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. You get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Let us know what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're playing. And if you want to be a super fan, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. And so as Mike runs from the cops coming to get him behind him there in the background, we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.